things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I'm going to let you see our children if you behave in a certain way, and we can control the landscape. I mean, it was like really sick and contrived. And I think he got to the point where, excuse my French, BS. This is not how you.
Meghan thought she was done with family drama, but Samantha just proved her wrong in the worst possible way. The half-sister everyone assumed would fade away has officially dragged Meghan back into court with a $75,000 defamation lawsuit that's small in money, but could be massive for Meghan's narrative and reputation if it survives appeal. Samantha has refiled her defamation claims after the original case was dismissed in 2023, and now there's an appellate oral argument set for September 9th in Jacksonville, Florida.
Claim she does, if she really is a champion for those with mental health issues, Brittany, she needs to think about the people who Meghan Markle has bullied. What about all of the accounts of the Sussex Survivors Club, Brittany, of people who have actually ended up in rehab, have had a psychological difficulty?
We're talking about a legal battle that goes way beyond money. This is about who gets to control the Markle family story. And the timing? Absolutely brutal for Meghan's brand. This video breaks down the legal background, what's really at stake for Meghan's post-royal empire, and why that September hearing could change everything. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to where this whole mess started.
We thought, my brother and I thought, a pretty normal life. But it wasn't until the time of the wedding when the media started to get to us. In other words, we didn't seek out the media. We were living our lives quietly and privately. But the media found us. And it seems as though as soon as they did, even though we said some favorable things in the beginning, the MO became, oh my.
Meghan said she grew up as an only child during the 2021 Oprah interview, and that single statement has become the foundation of Samantha's entire legal case. Samantha has since argued that claim was false and damaging to her reputation on a global scale. What seemed like Meghan sharing her personal truth was actually, according to Samantha, a calculated rewrite of family history with 17 million people watching. Samantha says she has photos, letters, and witnesses who contradict that only child claim. The documentation Samantha's team is presenting spans decades. We're talking correspondence where Meghan allegedly acknowledged their relationship existed and mattered. Christmas cards, birthday messages, family photos where both sisters appear together. Even witnesses who say they saw the sisters interact normally for years before Meghan became famous. The legal trap here is brutal. Meghan's team argued it was just her personal experience, her feelings about growing up. How can you sue someone for describing their own childhood? But Samantha's lawyers painted it differently. They called it a calculated lie designed to erase Samantha from existence. Not feelings, strategy. However, a federal judge initially agreed with Meghan's defense. U.S. District Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell dismissed the case in 2023, ruling the only child remark was a protected opinion, not a verifiable fact.
I don't know your middle name. I don't know your birthday. You're telling these people that you raised me and you've coined me Princess Pushy?
Meghan Markle's half-sister, Samantha.
What makes this potentially dangerous for Meghan is how similar claims appear across multiple platforms. The Netflix series repeats the family distance story. The Finding Freedom book echoes identical themes about growing up isolated from siblings. When you see the same narrative across multiple platforms, it starts looking less like personal truth and more like coordinated messaging. The pattern Samantha's building isn't about one offhand comment to Oprah. It's about what she calls a systematic campaign to rewrite history. Every interview, every documentary, every book authorized by Meghan tells the same story. She was alone, abandoned, forced to figure out life without family support. Samantha alleges she has decades of evidence proving that story is fiction. Think about what this means legally. If Meghan's team claims the only child statement was just her emotional truth, how do they explain identical claims across Netflix, books, and multiple interviews? Either Meghan genuinely believes she grew up alone despite evidence of family relationships, or she's been telling the same strategic story across every platform she controls. The only child statement that seemed like throwaway family drama became the foundation of a legal case that could force Meghan to defend her childhood memories with documentation, witnesses, and cross-examination. But that 2023 dismissal should have ended everything. Instead, Samantha's legal team found a way back in. A federal judge previously dismissed parts of Samantha's suit and found at least the only child statement was protected as opinion. But Samantha appealed, and the 11th Circuit has set oral argument in Jacksonville for September 9th. Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell's ruling was significant, but it's now being challenged on appeal. Here's where Samantha's legal team got strategic. They didn't just appeal the ruling like most lawyers would do. They expanded the entire case with new allegations about the Netflix series and Finding Freedom. Instead of fighting the same battle twice, they built a completely different argument. The original case focused purely on the Oprah interview. One appearance, one set of statements, one target to defend. Simple enough for Meghan's lawyers to handle. But this revived version claims Meghan used multiple platforms to spread what Samantha calls coordinated lies. We're not talking about one bad interview anymore. We're talking about a multimedia campaign. The appeal asks whether similar statements repeated across multiple platforms, Oprah, Netflix content, the Finding Freedom narrative, could cumulatively be considered defamatory rather than protected opinion. Court documents show the 11th Circuit will now decide if Meghan's statements across all these platforms add up to defamation rather than just personal thoughts. The Netflix documentary, the Finding Freedom book, multiple interviews where similar family claims appear. When you line them all up chronologically, they start looking less like scattered personal thoughts and more like consistent messaging strategy. Samantha's legal team expanded the record to argue the same narrative repeatedly across platforms may show intent. That's the core issue the appeals court will consider. If one interview counts as opinion, what about a pattern across multiple media appearances and projects? You can't claim every single platform was just you sharing feelings when the same narrative appears everywhere with identical talking points. That starts looking intentional rather than emotional. Samantha's lawyers are arguing that Meghan weaponized her celebrity platform to systematically damage Samantha's reputation and relationships. Every major media appearance reinforced the same family story. Every documentary project echoed identical themes. Every authorized book repeated the same claims about growing up without family support. The September 9th hearing will determine if this expanded case has enough merit to survive another dismissal attempt. Meghan's team will argue it's still just opinion, regardless of how many times she expressed those opinions. Samantha's team will argue that repetition across multiple platforms proves intent to damage rather than just share personal truth. What looked like a legal victory for Meghan has turned into a much bigger problem, a case that now encompasses years of public statements across every platform Meghan controls. The scope went from defending one interview to defending her entire public narrative about family relationships. That's a massive legal undertaking that could force her into the one process she desperately wants to avoid. Discovery is the legal process that makes celebrities pay millions to settle cases they think they can win. If the appeals court revives enough of the case and it proceeds, the parties could enter discovery, which legal experts say often forces disclosure of private communications. And that risk makes this more than a symbolic $75,000 fight. Discovery could cover communications around the media appearances and projects at issue, messages and documents tied to the Oprah interview, the Netflix project, and the timing of Finding Freedom. Every email to her PR team could become evidence. Every text about family drama could end up in court filings. Every strategic discussion about how to handle Samantha could become public record. The timing makes it particularly damaging because this covers exactly the period when Meghan was building her post-royal brand and crafting her public image. This isn't ancient history we're talking about. This is the communications from when she was actively constructing the family narrative that became her brand foundation. The emails from right before the Oprah interview, the texts during Netflix negotiations, the strategic discussions while writing was happening for Finding Freedom. Discovery could reveal how much of Meghan's family story was calculated public relations versus genuine personal experience. Was she actually traumatized by family relationships, or was trauma the most marketable story for her post-royal career? Did she genuinely feel like an only child, or did the only child narrative test better with audiences than complicated family dynamics? Samantha's team is specifically looking for evidence that Meghan coordinated her family narrative across multiple platforms and interviews. They want to see if the same talking points appear in communications with Netflix, messages to Oprah's producers, and correspondence with the Finding Freedom authors. If they find identical messaging strategies across all these platforms, it proves coordination rather than authentic emotional sharing. The legal process could force Meghan to explain inconsistencies between her private knowledge of family relationships and her public claims. If her communications show she knew about normal family interactions while publicly claiming abandonment, that becomes evidence of intentional deception rather than personal truth. Critics point to prior celebrity lawsuits where private texts and emails ended up in filings, a headache Meghan's team wants to avoid. The $75,000 Samantha is asking for is pocket change compared to the potential damage of having Meghan's private communications about family and media strategy exposed in court documents. And that's exactly why this is a risk Meghan can't simply ignore. The real damage isn't happening in courtrooms. The commercial fallout is happening right now. While Meghan's been trying to reinvent herself through her lifestyle brand American Riviera Orchard and the Netflix series With Love Meghan, Samantha's been systematically attacking the foundation of that rebrand. Every business pitch Meghan makes now comes with a lawsuit attached. Every brand meeting includes discussions about ongoing family litigation. Meghan's post-royal career depends entirely on her credibility as someone who survived family trauma and royal persecution. That's literally her brand foundation. But this lawsuit attacks that core narrative head-on. If Samantha can prove the family trauma story was manufactured rather than real, brands may hesitate to associate with someone whose authenticity is under legal challenge. That's the commercial danger Samantha is leveraging. The timing makes everything worse because Meghan's Hollywood deals have already faced major setbacks. Spotify ended her podcast after one season. Netflix scaled back on Sussex projects dramatically. Some outlets reported that new big offers have not materialized. Now she's trying to rebuild from a much weaker position, and Samantha's lawsuit makes that rebuilding almost impossible. Industry sources say ongoing litigation and repeated public disputes make Meghan a riskier partner. The Samantha case adds another reputational question brands must weigh. You know what potential business partners have to wonder now? If Meghan's family story doesn't hold up in court, what else about her public image is constructed rather than authentic? The wellness brand she's trying to launch depends on people believing she's genuinely overcome adversity. The lifestyle content she wants to create relies on her personal story being real rather than strategic marketing. The lawsuit is forcing brands and media companies to question whether associating with Meghan brings more legal drama than commercial value. Think about a major company considering a partnership deal. They have to factor in ongoing litigation costs, potential reputation damage, and the possibility that their celebrity partner's entire backstory could be exposed as calculated fiction. Industry analysts note that the ongoing family litigation makes Meghan a risky investment because every business deal could get dragged into family court battles. Imagine trying to launch a wellness brand while your sister is in court claiming you lied about your childhood. Imagine pitching lifestyle content while legal proceedings question your authenticity. The case is also complicating any potential reconciliation with the royal family because it keeps family drama in the headlines. Harry's relationship with his father and brother becomes harder to repair when Meghan's family lawsuits dominate news cycles. How do you have quiet reconciliation conversations when court documents are being filed about family dysfunction? Samantha's $75,000 lawsuit is actually a multi-million-dollar problem because it's destroying Meghan's ability to monetize her story and rebuild her brand after losing those major Hollywood deals. But the real threat goes deeper than just business deals. Samantha's case is designed to prove that Meghan wasn't the victim of family dysfunction. She was the architect of family destruction for personal gain. Everything Meghan has built since leaving the royal family depends on one central story. She's the victim of family dysfunction and media persecution. That's her entire brand foundation right there. From Oprah to Netflix to every interview since, Meghan's commercial value is built on surviving toxic family relationships and finding her authentic voice. The woman who escaped impossible circumstances and emerged stronger. The survivor who refused to be silenced. That narrative is worth millions in business deals and media contracts. But Samantha alleges Meghan misrepresented their family history and strategically used her platform to rewrite family relationships and eliminate inconvenient relatives from her story. Not accidentally, not emotionally, strategically, with planning and coordination across multiple media appearances. The legal argument goes beyond defamation into something more damaging for Meghan's brand. If Samantha can prove that Meghan's only child narrative was a calculated fabrication rather than personal truth, it could undermine every victim story Meghan has told since. The royal persecution story starts looking suspicious. The media harassment claims become questionable. The entire foundation of Meghan's post-royal brand faces scrutiny. However, it's worth noting that a district judge previously found the only child remark was protected opinion. So Samantha faces significant legal hurdles on appeal. The case threatens to reframe Meghan from survivor to manipulator, from truth-teller to strategic storyteller. Some analysts warn it could seriously damage brand partnerships if credibility is eroded. But that's a conditional outcome, not a certainty. Nobody wants to buy lifestyle content from someone exposed as calculating rather than genuine. Media analysts are already noting how this lawsuit changes public perception of Meghan's credibility across all her major interviews and projects. When people start questioning the family story, they start questioning everything else. If a court agrees with Samantha's allegations, it could shift how viewers interpret the Oprah interview, the Netflix series, and Finding Freedom, transforming them from authentic storytelling into strategic messaging. The September hearing will determine whether Meghan has to defend her entire public narrative in court, rather than just one interview comment. Imagine having to prove in legal proceedings that your childhood trauma was real, not manufactured for public consumption. Imagine cross-examination about the authenticity of your emotional experiences. Samantha isn't just seeking $75,000 in damages. She's systematically dismantling the victim story that Meghan has used to justify everything from leaving the royal family to her media deals. The money is irrelevant compared to the narrative destruction happening in real time. Whether Samantha wins or loses, she's already succeeded in making millions of people question the authenticity of Meghan's carefully constructed public image. That damage can't be undone with legal victories or settlement payments. What we're witnessing isn't just a family lawsuit anymore. This is Samantha's systematic attack on everything Meghan represents. The real genius isn't the $75,000 she's asking for. It's how every court filing chips away at Meghan's credibility. Every legal document questions her authenticity. The money becomes irrelevant when you're destroying someone's entire brand foundation. Here's what you need to remember. Samantha seeks $75,000 and alleges defamation over Meghan's only child claims. The district court previously dismissed parts of the case as protected opinion, but an appeals hearing is set for September 9th in Jacksonville. This case will determine whether public figures can rewrite their family history for commercial gain, or if there are legal consequences for erasing relatives from their story. Everything depends on what the appeals court decides, and the September 9th hearing will tell us how far this feud can go. Comment below. Do you think Samantha can puncture Meghan's narrative? Subscribe for updates leading up to the hearing.